Welcome back to Solo Adventures. My name is Livy and I'm here yet again with another BGG Solitaire PnP contest game review. So today the game we're going to be taking a look at is Delenda, Roma, a war game set during the time of ancient Rome. As usual, if you're not interested in watching me play this game, you can feel free to skip to the end to hear my final thoughts. Otherwise, let's venture forth. Okay, so here is the setup for Delenda, Roma. We start with this tracker at 1, this is our turn tracker, our Senate tracker at 0, and our enemy strength tracker also at 0. We start with 2 Roman units in Mauritania, Belgica, Cisalpina, Graecia, and Aegyptus. And then we put 2 barbarian cubes on each of the barbarian starting zones. And there's 5 of them. Okay, so there are 7 phases in a round, and if we can survive to the 20th round, then we win. And the object of the game is to prevent anybody from entering Roma. So if any enemy gets in, then we immediately lose, or if the Senate track is at -5, then we will also lose. So this game is extremely difficult. I've never been able to win it, but I'm going to do my best. So, part 1 is the events phase. So it says, you can subtract 2 gold. If so, remove 2 loyalty depleted tokens in any province. So this doesn't apply to us because we don't have any loyalty depleted tokens yet. That happens when we lose battles. But yeah, that would have been nice, I guess, a bit later on. After that is the battle phase, and we don't have any enemies in our territory, so we don't need a battle. Then we have upkeep, and territories have not changed hands. And then the enemy phase. So the enemy units are going to move, and they are going to go in a counterclockwise fashion, but when they begin, they start following their path here. And this will go counterclockwise. It's a little bit tricky because you kind of have a hard time figuring out what counterclockwise is exactly in relation to this. I'm going to say that it's Syria. That's my best guess. And we have barbarians here in Mauritania. Now it is our turn. So when it is our turn, the player phase, we get 1 gold token. And now we can take our turn and decide what we want to do. So we can spend gold to move our troops or to reinforce them. So it costs 1 gold to move a group of troops to any adjacent territory, or 1 gold also to move them to a territory that is across the sea. And it costs 3 gold to get another unit. So I think I'm going to spend 6 gold to reinforce right here because I want us to win this battle, and right here. Let's try to hold the invaders off. After the player phase is the Senate phase, so we draw the top card on the Senate deck. So this is basically a quest, and if we can do it, then we get some kind of reward. And if we can't do it, then we are punished. So the current objective is to crush the rebellion, destroy 4 rebel units in 1 turn. If you win, add 3 Senate and plus 3 gold, and if you lose, minus 3 Senate. And we have 4 turns to do that. So I just put these markers on this card to remind me how many turns I have to do this. We don't have any rebels on the board yet, but don't worry, I'm sure they will turn up soon. And then it's the next turn. So we draw a new event. Rebellion. For each province, if there is a loyalty depleted token, remove it and add 2 rebel units. If loyalty is not depleted, then deplete it. So that is literally every territory now has depleted loyalty. Since we don't have any areas with depleted loyalty yet, we won't spawn any rebels, but literally all of the territories are now not so loyal to us as they once were, and we'll find it easy for rebels to pop up. So I'll just scoot them in there. I think that's everything. Oh, I have to squeeze this one in. Now we battle. So we have barbarians in our territory over here, so we fight. We have 3 units and they have 2, so we win and their numbers are depleted by 1. If we can beat them with more than twice their strength, then you can destroy all of them. But for now, we've just reduced their numbers. And now we go into upkeep. So we have to move the units around depending on who is in control of the territory. So in this case, we're in control of this territory, and these guys are going to have to leave. So they are going to move counterclockwise to another territory, in this case, Africa. And there's nothing else we really need to adjust. Now it's the enemy phase. So they move counterclockwise. So I believe that this dotted line here means that you basically don't really need a ship to get across. The rules say that barbarians cannot cross the sea, but I think that there's one exception here, and that's here and here. I could be wrong. But in any case, if we're going counterclockwise, then they are coming dangerously close to Rome. We really need to reinforce this because otherwise we lose if they just move one more space. So counterclockwise from this direction. I think this way. And now it's our turn, and we get 1 gold, so I'm immediately going to spend all of my gold and put some Roman troops here. And that's all I can do. Then it is the Senate phase, and we'll just take a marker off of this. And then next turn. Let's do the events. Tributa, add 3 gold from reserve to the player zone, so that's good. And the direction is clockwise. So I'm in luck. It seems like the barbarians are going to retreat this way. So, very good. So now we resolve any battles. I don't think we have any barbarians in our territory. Nope. And upkeep. Don't have to do anything there. And now the enemy. So they're going clockwise. And now we get to take a turn. I'm going to move these units here. And that will cost 1 gold. I think I'm just going to hang on to my gold this turn. And the Senate. And then next turn. So let's see what happens this turn. New enemies. Add 2 barbarian units in each barbarian starting point and +1 to enemy strength. New enemies. Add 2 barbarian units in each barbarian starting point and +1 to enemy strength. So this means that when we fight the barbarians, it's as if they are 1 unit stronger. So this isn't 2 strength anymore, it's 3. And that is bad news for us. And, of course, barbarian reinforcements are never good. Now we would battle, and the barbarians are over here. Anywhere else? No, I think this is the only place where we have to battle, so they have 3, and I have 2, so therefore I lose 1 guy. Now we do upkeep, so I can't stay here. Thankfully I can escape over there, but this territory is now controlled by barbarians. Now it's my turn. Well, if we're going to fight off these invaders, we are going to need at least 1 more unit. So here we go. And the Senate phase, time passes. And the next turn. So let's see what happens. Civitas. Choose 1. Remove a depleted loyalty token in a province or add 1 Roman unit on a province under your control. Then -1 enemy strength. Okay, that's very good. Thankfully the enemy is grown a little bit weaker. I definitely want another Roman unit. They're very valuable in this case, so I'll put 1 here. No battles, no upkeep. Enemy movement is counterclockwise. Now we can take our actions. I think I'm just going to hold my ground. And the Senate phase. So we get to draw a new card next turn. And we already made it to round 6, so maybe we can survive. Event, Corruption. For each province with barbarian units, you can spend 1 for each barbarian unit, move to an adjacent zone, province and zones out of the empire, -1 to enemy strength. So, is there any unit here I want to bump backwards? No, I think I'm going to hang on to my gold, but at least the enemy is now at -1 strength, so very, very good. Because now we have to battle. So now they have a strength of 1, and we have a strength of 3, so we beat them by more than twice over, so all the barbarians here are dead. So this is... oh, they're not in our territory quite yet. And this one gets knocked out. Now we do upkeep, and then the enemy moves counterclockwise. Can be sometimes hard to see where the countries' lines are. And now let's see what we should do. I think I will move my units here. Just get them a little bit closer. And the new Senate phase. Destroy barbarians. So destroy 4 barbarian units in 1 turn. And if we win, we can get +2 Senate or +2 gold. And if we lose, we get -2 Senate. Oh, speaking of which, I forgot that we failed this because we didn't have any rebels to kill, so we are at -3 Senate. If we lose 2 more Senate, then we lose. So we have to kill 4 barbarians in 1 turn now. And it's next turn. See what the events say. Legion's Cruelty. For each province under Roman control, deplete loyalty. If already depleted, remove loyalty depleted. Add 2 rebel units. Oh no. The only thing I can say that's good about this is that we only have a maximum of 10 rebel units. Since this is supposed to be clockwise, I guess I'm going to start from the top and go clockwise. Rebels are bad because they immediately move to Rome if they can. And we can battle. So, what are we? These guys are all in Pannonia, and I'm still here, so they don't slaughter me quite yet. But we have 2 barbarians and 2 rebels here. They have a strength of 3. That means that we both have a strength of 3, and we each lose 1 unit. So, upkeep. This area is completely taken over by enemies, so we have to be able to move to an adjacent space. So we can move to an adjacent space not in control by the enemy. And I think since we are allowed to cross the sea, I think that we can go here. And then the enemy moves clockwise. Except for the rebels, they will immediately go to Rome. Oops. And I think we just lost because I think it's possible for rebels to cross the sea. Yes, rebels are able to cross the sea, and so they immediately invade, and Rome falls. Okay, so we lose, and we made it to the 7th round, which is maybe not the farthest that I've gotten. I think the furthest I've gotten is round 10, so this game is hard. In any case, let's talk about this game. So that was Delenda Roma. As usual, let's start with the build. Now, the build for this game is pretty easy, but you are going to need to have some components. So the board is very easy, the cards are very simple. What you will need is a lot of cubes. Cubes or markers, of course. And I know that not all of us just happen to have more than 20 cubes of various colors. I personally know that I had to actually paint some more reds in order to have enough to play this game properly. One of my biggest PnP hacks is to just buy these wooden cubes cheaply off of the internet, and then you can very quickly paint them to make your own Euro cubes. And if you're really in a hurry and you really need a cube of a proper color, there's nothing wrong with using a Sharpie. It's not quite as nice, but honestly, a few of the cubes in that last video were Sharpied, and I bet you can't tell which ones. So, in any case, yeah, the build is fine. One point of criticism I do have is that the Senate and event cards look really similar. And they aren't labeled in the files, so you're just going to have to, really look at the cards and read them and try to figure out, okay, which ones are for the Senate and which ones are for the events. I find that sometimes the cards get a little bit mixed up together, and so I color code them with little marker dots to help me keep them separate. But I really don't think there should be any need to have any doubt about which cards belong in which deck. I think even just like a little symbol or maybe a border even on one card and no border on the other would be enough to indicate that the decks are different. So what did I like about this game? I like the whole general feel and flow of this game. I like the basic mechanics of moving my troops around and being able to reinforce them. I appreciate that the battles are not determined by dice. You can really plan ahead and you will know who will win. Except of course if the event causes the enemy strength to raise or lower. But otherwise you are going to know ahead of time who is going to win which battle. And it's not really based on luck for the most part. Of course, you can get extremely lucky or unlucky when you draw cards because some of them are excellent and some of them are terrible. But if you're going to play through this entire game, you are going to get through the event deck twice, because there are only 10 events and there are 20 rounds of this game. With such a small deck, it becomes easy in time to anticipate which cards might be coming up and plan accordingly. Having to worry about not only the invaders, but also about the Senate and how they feel about us was cool. I like having multiple meters, basically, that we need to worry about. So, one thing that I'm neutral about is the difficulty of this game. Now, in general, I really like difficult solo games, but Delenda Roma might actually be a little bit too hard. I have played this game several times now, and I have never made it past, I think the farthest I ever got was the 10th or the 11th round, maybe. I cannot imagine myself surviving to the 20th. And honestly, I don't really know what the winning strategy could possibly be. I mean, the designer probably knows. The designer can probably beat this game, I'm assuming. But for the rest of us, we're going to have to do a lot of trial and error to find out how it would be possible to win. Something I kind of worry about is that maybe there is only one true strategy that will work with this game, and therefore once you work it out, you can win most of the time, and that would really subtract from the replayability. But yeah, in general, I like my solo games hard, but Delenda Roma is really, really hard, and it feels really frustrating in a lot of cases. Like when you draw the card that makes the disloyalty tokens pop up all over the place, and wherever there is a disloyalty token, you get rebels. That is just abrupt and brutal when that happens. Especially since the rebels will head directly to Rome and will not have their movement dictated at all by the cards. It makes things much, much harder when those guys come into play. Speaking of movement, I find the movement of the barbarians, clockwise and counterclockwise, to be a bit confusing. Now I can kind of get what the next move should be a lot of the time, but sometimes I have to just guess or use my best judgment. I think that maybe the movement could have been a bit demystified with maybe some arrows or something like that. So maybe, for example, if you are in a province, it has 2 arrows and it kind of, maybe one of them is red and one of them is black, and they will point in the direction that the barbarians will move if the card says clockwise or counterclockwise, or something to that effect. Or maybe instead of clockwise or counterclockwise, the cards could be maybe marked with a colored arrow, and this would potentially also allow the barbarians to move in other directions, not just basically left and right, but also up and down. It's just a thought. I don't know how the game would have to be rebalanced to do that, but I do know that trying to figure out how the movement works is definitely the most confusing part of this game, and I'm often wondering if I'm doing it correctly. So how do I feel about Delenda Roma? Well, I have really mixed feelings about this. The difficulty is kind of a deterrent for me coming back to this game, but at the same time, I think that the core gameplay and the core mechanics are perfectly fine and really cool, actually. I think that at its heart, Delenda Roma has a solid foundation, but I think it's going to need some more balancing, maybe a few more mechanics, just something to make this game feel like it's a bit more fair to the player. And I guess that's really what it comes down to, is sometimes the game just feels unfair. Your gold runs out very quickly, and you can't replace your legions faster than the enemy are just killing them. And the enemies respawn at an alarming rate. So, should you try this game? If it looks interesting to you, then sure, but just be aware that it is extremely difficult. If you like the theme, if you like the puzzle that it presents for you, you might have some fun with it. I know I had fun with the time that I spent with it, but I personally don't really see myself revisiting this game too often unless it gets its gameplay rebalanced. Like I said, this game really builds a solid foundation for something really cool, and I hope the designer continues to develop it. Thank you so much for watching! If you haven't already, then please subscribe, and if you would like to support the channel, you can check me out on Patreon. You can also join the Facebook group for all things solo gaming. All the links will be in the description. So until next time, friends, stay adventurous.